Hi, everyone. It's been a long time. I'm super behind on recording these, which is really, I wouldn't say like frustrating. I think it does cause me to be frustrated at myself, but that's like, again, another topic I'm working on with my therapist. So, I'm tired. I think I say that anytime I'm just like, hi, how are you? Like the natural, how are you doing? And usually people are just like, good, and you, and that's our natural response, but I'm tired. And I know burnt out is such a probably overused term. And I was reading the other day that using burnt out in place of stressed or anxious is like not correct either. But to be honest, I'm all of the above. Say anxious, stressed, burnt out, tired. I swear oh, okay. I was going to stop recording, but I'll keep going. I like pushed something on my Bose headphones that I don't really know how to use. I just use them to listen and like zone in, and some music started playing. And so I panicked. So I'm not sure if you heard it or just heard like the awkward pause. Anyways, amateur move. But yeah, I'm tired, and I'm sure I'm not going to assume, but I feel like many listening may feel the same way. And there's many people out there who feel just tired. And I don't know if it's, I do feel like a lot changed since COVID. And obviously having a child for me also was a big change. And it is tiring. I think I've just also become really work obsessive, and I don't know how to turn that off. So I just made the cuenta, like I realized this week that I need to talk to my therapist about this. I don't know if it's I set my expectations too high for myself because of past trauma. I don't know if I feel some type of guilt or like expectations because my parents, they're both like grew up in poverty. And so I have to like do what I can with what they've given me. I don't know. I'm sure it's something. But today's topic, is going to be suicide, which is a heavy topic. And I can't say I'm an expert on it. And everyone in the world has their own experience. So yeah, I think the passing of Twitch, and his real name is Stephen Boss, his passing on Wednesday, or at least that's when I think like outlets and news medias had picked it up. It was really devastating, and it brought a lot of anxiety. And of course, didn't know him personally. And I understand there's millions and millions of people who have died from and continue to die from suicide that aren't like spotlighted like Twitch has been. But I think it hit home because I loved watching Ellen when I had the time. And when I would watch Ellen, like he just made everything so joyful and so joyous. And a few days ago, scrolling aimlessly through Instagram, I saw a video that he posted with Allison, right? I think it's Allison or Alice. His wife, celebrating their anniversary, and they have 3 kids. And then like someone who can project such joy and spread such happiness and go out in front of media outlets or whatever, right, and show that, and then with 3 kids take his life. I mean, some people are like, oh, how, like, I could never do such a selfish act. And I call bullshit. Now, this is my podcast with my point of view based on my experiences and my thoughts. So not everybody's going to agree, and that's okay. But for me, I don't understand how someone can do it with kids, because I have Manny and I couldn't even imagine. I mean, I fly on an airplane, and if there's like the slightest turbulence, I'm like, okay, it's okay. Clay will survive. He'll already be there to take care of Manny. Like, and okay, really, really dark thinking. I don't like flying. I mean, I do and I don't. But like, I could never imagine right now in my current state, no matter how tired and I'm not going to say miserable I am, even though I do at times feel like I'm miserable, like being that bad or being in such a dark place where I have to concede to taking my own life. I say all of that, but still did have, again, don't recall much of like childhood or anything. I don't think I had any of these thoughts back then, but I have had a suicidal thought before. And it was when Manny was super young. So I can say right now, 0 to 6, probably 0 to 9 months was not a good age for me and being a mom. Like, I think that is, for me, the hardest stage. I had no idea what I was doing. I thought I was doing everything wrong. I was super stressed out. Like, I remember, like, that was really, really hard for me. And like now, like, oh my God, I love Manny, the age that he's in right now, because he talks and we're learning how to go potties and like all the stuff. But yeah, 0 to 9 months was really hard for me. And I remember very, very clearly, but we were getting ready to go. We were going to drive down to Cocoa Beach because we rented an Airbnb with one of my best friends, Carla, her husband, and at the time, their one son. They now have 3 kids. So much has changed. Who's my godson. And I was excited because I was like, okay, for me, like, my soul gets filled when I get to be around people that know me, have known like the good and the bad of me and still accept me. And like, so I was really excited. I've known Carla and Chris since college. They're like some of the first people that I met and bonded with. And we were going to drive Manny, of course, I think at the time he was maybe like 4 months old. So we were going to just drive to Cocoa Beach. We're like, oh, it can't be that hard, right? Like, we can do it. And Manny, ever since being born, has been or had been really gassy and like really, really fussy and a bad sleeper. And he was in his own room at that time and like he just wouldn't sleep. And I just remember being like nervous and anxious because we were taking this trip this next day and it was bedtime and like he was just crying nonstop, like crying. And I was so flustered. And like Clay and I had already switched like our normal spots where we sleep in bed because I was like, I don't want to hear him cry. Like, I can't hear him cry. Like, I moved. So I was laying where Clay normally lays and Clay was sleeping where I was. And like, he got up to go like take care of Manny. And I just remember being so tired and so frustrated and just so miserable where I literally had, it felt like a second, maybe it was 30 seconds, maybe it was a minute, but I had the thought like, okay, Clay's handgun that he uses for protection, like in case someone comes in the house, is literally right next to me now in his nightstand. Like, what if I just like end it? And like, it was a split second. And as soon as I had the thought, I came back to reality and was just like, oh my God, I can't believe, like, Melissa, you just thought that? Like, are you kidding me? Like, that's fucking terrible. How could you think that? Like, and then all of a sudden, like, all this guilt came right and be like, your life's not even that bad. Like, what are you thinking? Like, I don't know, just all this guilt. And then Clay came back in the room. He got Manny to settle down, but I didn't say anything. So I was like, I'm not gonna tell my husband that I just had a thought of killing myself because no, I just can't, right? Like, shame. So I kind of just like put it in the back of my mind and we drove down, but like I knew it. Like, I could tell that it was bothering me that I even had that thought. And I think it scared me that I had that thought. So we get to Cocoa Beach, like, great. And like, it was I think still like Carla and Chris hadn't gotten there yet. And I was breastfeeding Manny, and Clay walked in, and I don't know, I think the guilt was finally so overwhelming, or like I was scared enough where I was just like, hey, and I started crying, of course. And I was like, I don't want to scare you. And like, I don't think this way right now. But like last night when you went to go like take care of Manny at some point, like I had the thought of killing myself, and I'm sorry. And like, he was, I mean, of course I'm laughing, right? But I shouldn't be. Like you could tell he was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. I'm like, I know, I didn't want to tell you because I felt stupid for even thinking about it, and so all this stuff. And he's like, okay, like we need to talk to your therapist. And I was like, I know. I have like I have a session with her next week. Like, I promise I'll tell her. And he's like, do you want me to be there? I said, no, I think something like I need to work through myself. So super grateful and blessed, and when all of those words, to have Clay, who was really supportive at that time. Like I had cried to him before about thinking that I wasn't a good mom. Like I literally would be outside sweeping the deck just to like stay active, and start crying and being like, I'm not a good mom. I'm not meant to be a mom. Maybe I'm not, like, maybe, this wasn't what we were supposed to do. And he'd always be like, what are you talking about? Like, help me. But I think this was the first time he was like, oh, the thoughts that Melissa is having aren't silly, unrealistic thoughts. Like she's truly unhappy, or like not, like she's trying to navigate this and I don't know how to help. But yeah, I still remember that night. And I think it's important to share because I mean, I don't have, like, we don't have a lot of money. We're not wealthy, but we have health, and like I have a good job. Clay works in tech as well. He has a good job. Like Manny is healthy. We have like supporting families and friends. So it's like, I think it's just a reminder that like everybody goes through shit in their own way, in they view it from their own lens. And so I think it's really, really, really hard for others, especially when it comes to the topic of depression and suicide, to be able to jump to that conclusion, say that's selfish. Now, I think it's the first thing that comes to mind because we're like, oh, well, look at the people they left behind. But also it's like, well, like, yeah, well, our first reaction should be, what were they going through that was so, so bad? And how do we leverage this to improve society and to change society so that we can have more conversation, so that we can provide therapy or the correct mental health, to everyone. And I think I mentioned it before, right? But like therapy is something I heavily rely on. But growing up, like my dad was super against it. And I saw and shared recently, for those who follow me on Instagram, well, my personal Instagram, which I should probably share it on my podcast Instagram. But it's a clip of this like immigrant Hispanic or Latina mom going off on like, oh, all these kids today, complain that they have depression or anxiety. Everyone has something. And then it like cuts to a therapist who's like, unfortunately, this is the mentality of many immigrant parents, primarily, and he said in this case, because he attends to a lot of Latino and Hispanic kids, because they were raised a certain way, and they were raised of like, don't cry, get over it. Like crying is weakness. Like only crazy people go to therapy. I worked so hard to get here, and like, then you're complaining you have this. So it's like, it's a cycle that like I think in our generation has to break. And I'm super grateful I have access to therapy. I really want it to be, I want to make sure I'm always creating a safe space, not only for Manny, but also for my coworkers and also for my team, because I think something that we try to do is separate work and like personal life. And the reality is, like, I'm Melissa Toledo. I experienced a suicidal thought that impacted me. And I am the same me that shows up every day, maybe with makeup, maybe without makeup, showered or not, to work, as the person who then shuts my laptop and goes spend time with Manny or go cooks dinner for Manny and Clay. And I can't just turn off who I am at work. So therapy is good for the soul, it's good for the mind, and it's something that employers like really need to take seriously. And this whole burnt out crisis and mental health crisis needs to be taken seriously by everyone, by the government, by corporations, by employers. And if you are in a position of power, or you're in a position to advocate for for tools, platforms, programs within your company, please do so. I found out that there might not be like this Better Up program for us next year, which is like professional coaching. And I was like, I understand, like, we're in a tough spot financially, but this program is probably one of the greatest factors and greatest reasons of why I am in my role today. And I've worked my butt off for this company. And I've been able to do it without like going absolutely crazy. So I would really appreciate if you would like consider keeping it. And I feel that many would feel the same. But yeah, I went on a tangent there. And I think I don't want to take away from like the message at hand, because also upon returning from Thanksgiving, I checked my phone and of course mindlessly scrolling through Instagram, which I really probably need to get off of, because I lately have been spending a lot of time aimlessly just looking at Instagram. But an old coworker from Salesforce had gone missing. He told his wife he was going to get an admissions check. His admissions checked. I think his son is 2 or 3, and she is pregnant with their daughter, and he never made it home. And within a day, they found him with a gunshot wound to the head in some woods. I'm like, dang, like, that is sad. And I cried because I do, like, the last time I saw him was at the Salesforce holiday party at Burbank Museum here in Georgia. We're at my friend and old coworker TJ's house with his wife, now wife. And then Nick and his wife was there, and then I and Clay were there. And it's just like, I don't know, I like remember then he was, again, really caring guy, fun loving, really helpful at work. Like, he always was helping people. And of course, last time I was around him was like a little over 3 years ago, but still, I mean, that's how I knew him. And to hear that is how he found him, like, I couldn't imagine how much he was going through. Someone I actually knew who was that joyous and just a great person, who has a wife expecting a second child. But again, he must have been just in a place so lost, and it sucks. It really sucks. I definitely am going to have to put a trigger warning, and then also, like, this is a Debbie Downer episode, but I think it's a conversation that needs to be had. I think hopefully me sharing my story makes others realize that parenthood is no walk in the park. Everybody experiences it differently. I definitely was not one of those mothers who, as soon as Manny was put on my chest, I was like, oh my God, this is the one thing I love more than anything else on earth. Like, I do now, but I didn't know how to bond with him at the time. I didn't know how to bond with this small human that just was there. Like he was taken away because I gave birth so quickly that not enough fluid came out of his lungs. I'm sure there's way more precise technical way to explain all that, or a scientific way. And as soon as he took him away, I was on my phone working. Yeah. So we're just all different, and we need to support each other. Now, people are gonna be like, well, then people shouldn't judge. I agree. But also, if I see a post about, the 2 parents from North Carolina arrested for leaving their children out in the cold, like, yeah, I'm going to judge you and I'm going to say you're a bad person. But we also need to remember, like, check in with one another, like, see how your team's doing. Like for me in sales, like we get really wrapped up and think, oh, sales is the most important thing, we have to focus on. No, family, your personal life, and then work. And if you aren't getting what you need, or if you're not stable in your personal life, how can we expect you to show up to your work life and give it your all and be your best? It's like everything is intertwined. So yeah, I should have prepared, and I guess I can do this right now. But if you or anyone or a loved one is suffering from anxiety, stress, depression, and need support, message me, call the helpline. For those who are to the point where they might even be considering suicide, there's a new crisis lifeline, which is, I don't know if it's new actually, but it's available 24 hours. It's all you have to do from your phone is dial 988. And yeah, don't go through it alone. Depression and suicidal thoughts are nothing to be ashamed of, and do more harm when they're kept secret or locked up. And I really hope that all the media and all the press that has come from Twitch's suicide will spark a larger conversation that needs to be had. And we all need to be making sure we're focusing on our mental health. So yes, thank you all for listening. I've realized this is my 5th episode, and I'm excited. I have like a whole list of other topics I want to start doing. 2022 was the year I wanted to just start my podcast. So here we are, already December. And in 2023, I want to do a lot more. I want to bring in other people to get perspectives too, because we cannot learn from each other and grow ourselves and support one another and empower one another without sharing our stories or our point of view. And so I'm excited about next year. And instead of just having a generic goal of start my podcast or do more episodes, I'm really going to set some firm targets for myself. And so thank you all for listening. If you are dealing with any type of issue, or you just want to chat more about this, or you want someone to listen out or give advice, like, I am here. For those at work, Slack me, WhatsApp me, text me, email me. All lines of communication are open. So again, thank you so much. In case I don't do another episode before the holidays, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And again, thank you so much for tuning in. And I look forward to the next episode. Bye.